Hey guys, welcome back. This is the part 2 of What If Naruto Acquired Gojo's abilities. Before we start, make sure to like, sub and hit that naughty bell so that never miss an update. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's begin. Gazing up at the screen, it flashes the ever-growing familiar sound of its digital beeping continued as characters view across the screen. Tenten vs Temari. Great. Dosu drawled sarcastically. Another 𝐫𝐞𝐦𝐿. I hope she's better than the last two. At least with Temari fighting, if she's anything like Kankuro, then this match will be quick. Gin nodded and turned to the 𝐫𝐞𝐦𝐿 in question. Good luck. I doubt you will need it. Just show these shinobi what real 𝐞𝐦𝐿 are made of. Temari smirked at this. You don't have to tell me twice. With that, Temari left the balcony and descended to the ground floor, along with Tenten on the opposite side of the room. I'm so ready. After watching that last match, I'm fired up. Tenten thought as she observed her opponent. Above, Tenten's team each watched eager to see the next match. Some more enthusiastic than the other. So this is another genin from the Sand Village. Neji observed. This should be interesting to watch. Meanwhile, Rock Lee didn't hesitate to start showing off his youth as he cheered the bun-haired girl below on. Go Tenten. Meanwhile, Temari's team said nothing as both Gaara and Kankuro looked down and simply watched. Gaara looked bored. Come on, Tenten used the power of youth. Lee continued to cheer. Waving his fist in the air in his excitement. Nicely, let's hear that support. You can do it, Tenten Guy-sensei complimented Lee and encouraged both his students. The man doing the same as Lee as he rooted for Tenten, raising his fist into the air. Take her down, Tenten. Lee continued to shout. The match hasn't even started yet. They need to tone it down a little. Dosu. Don't mind them. It's touching they care so much about her. Kin. It is, I guess, but still, cheer during the match. Dosu grumbled. After the last match, 𝐤𝐸𝐽 seemed even more tired than before, and with bored eyes that spoke how much he wished this was over, he gathered everyone's attention as he spoke. Addressing each girl in turn as he spoke. For the fifth match, Tenten Temari, get ready. Each girl stepping forward. Tenten glared with determination, and Temari's gaze showed only boredom. The room grew quiet as the girls waited for 𝐤𝐸𝐽's mark to begin. After but a moment, 𝐤𝐸𝐽 started the match. Begin. Now that the match had officially started, Temari looked determined. At the words of the proctor she moved slightly but did nothing to attack. This caught Tenten off guard. Not knowing what to expect, Tenten jumped back, giving herself a breathing room to attack or dodge. Alright, Tenten. Keep her guessing. Lee shouted as Naruto, who was beside him, covered his ears. The black-haired boy did have a good set of lungs, Naruto would give him that. Go for it. You've got the power of youth. Guy cheered. The cheering didn't stop as Rock Lee continued. Come on, Tenten. Send that girl back to her village on a stretcher. We're right behind you all the way, Tenten. Let's hear it. 2, 4, 6, 8, who do we appreciate? Guy cheered. Woo. Lee interjected. Tenten. Guy finished the cheer. Shikamaru and his team were quiet. Shikamaru yawning from it all. From his position on the balcony away from the ninja teams, the Hokage watched and added his toe bits, even though he had mostly be quiet during most of the other matches. It was weird he would say something now when there had been other more impressive matches. Tenten is carefully determining her distance, just what I'd expect from her. She's well positioned to attack or defend. 𝐤𝐸𝐽 was growing impatient as he watched the two ninja. The only thing happening since the match started was the two starting at each other and Tenten jumping back a bit. What are you waiting for? I did say to begin. He repeated himself, making sure both knew they could attack as he looked between the two. Tenten did nothing as she watched Temari's movements. Temari laughed at her. Guess she's waiting for me to make a move. Big mistake, because that first move I make will be the last one you see. Boasting about her skills. Taking a step forward, Tenten moved back. Taking another step forward, Temari tried to goad the other girl into attacking. Come on, I don't want this match to be over too quickly, so why don't you go first? Come on, girl. Show me what you got. Well, okay. If you insist. Remember, you asked for it. Tenten replied, falling for it. Tenten jumped into the air and threw 4 shurikens at the 𝐫𝐞𝐦𝐿. Dosu lifted an eyebrow at this. If that was the best she had, then 𝐫𝐞𝐦𝐿 were nothing to report about back home to the mist. Dosu was honestly expecting more since the girl was older and more experienced than Ino or Sakura. Watching, Dosu gasped as he saw something odd happen to Temari. It was something akin to an afterimage, he guessed. If that was so, Temari was fast if she had the ability to move so swiftly that an image of her was left behind. After Temari did whatever she had done, Dosu felt the slightest bit of wind. Temari smirked as the shurikens fell and clattered uselessly to the ground to Temari's right. Though one did embed itself into the ground. Dosu leaned in closer, the match becoming more interesting. At least Temari was. Dosu racking his brain as to what happened until it hit him. Temari had used the wind. Looking over the girl, Dosu's eye landed on the object attached to Temari's back. Is that what she used to move the shuriken with? Using whatever that is to create a shift in the air and move the weapons off course? Dosu wondered. Looking at Temari's siblings, Dosu noticed a common element the three of them had. Each one had a tool attached to their backs. Why didn't I notice that before? Tenten landed back on the ground in shock. I missed her. There's just no way. Temari's hands rested on her hips as she stood smirking and taunting her opponent. What was that, a warm-up exercise? Or maybe you're a little too nervous and it's affected your aim. Is that it? Tenten growling at the insults. Kakashi shook his head, getting worked up easily was not a good trait for a chunin to have. Anger makes people rash and rash decisions get people killed. For a leader it could get their whole team killed. Seeing the impact her words had on Tenten, Temari continued on. Rats, I was hoping I'd at least work up a sweat. But forget that idea if this is the best you've got. This made Tenten growl even more while above, Rock Lee and Guy tried to figure out what happened. What is going on? How could she have missed? Lee asked. It is incredible. It's impossible. Guy protested. Tenten's aim is perfect. She always hits her mark. Not this time, she didn't. Neji stated. Appearing not as bothered by this development as his sensei and fellow teammate. She never misses. Guy stressed. There must have been something that made her miss. He concluded. Lee asked shocked. Across the room, Kankuro smirked as he commented on the fight. You know, you can always count on Temari to put on a good show. Back with the remains of Team 7 and 10, Shikamaru couldn't help but complain. Man, this is embarrassing. He drawled out. The Sand Village wins again. Shikamaru. Even Choji could see the outcome as he agreed with the boy beside him. It's obvious, like he said, this one's over. Lee disagreed with him. Neji agreed with him but didn't express his thoughts. Taking some deep breaths, Tenten tried to calm down, figure out how Temari had dodged, and plan her next move. Okay, stay calm, don't let her get to you. Observing her opponent, Tenten noticed the other girl's position at the edge of one of the floor tiles. From there, Tenten began using the tiles as markers, calculating the distance in her head. 1, 2, 3. She must have dodged them somehow. But if I try a different approach meanwhile, Temari was having a grand out time as she noticed what Tenten was doing and smirking the entire time. Laughing within her mind, nearly tempted to laugh right in the other girl's face. Ah ha ha. Look at her measuring her distance. Here comes her big move. She thought as she reached back for her ninja tool strap there, a giant metal fan. Noticing this, Tenten smirked as she cracked the code and what caused her previous attack to fail. So that's her secret, that fan she carries. Okay. She thought as she started running to her left in a circle around Temari and keeping the same distance between them. Temari did nothing as she turned her head to watch Tenten and kept her hand on her fan. Once Tenten made a full circle, she continued until she was on Temari's right side. The side holding the fan. As Tenten moved closer to her targeted position, she reached into one of her pockets and with a twist and a leap, she flew into the air. Alright, try this on for size. Tenten shouted as her body flipped so her feet reached for the ceiling and her head was pointed towards the ground. Spinning once clockwise as she looked down at Temari and prepared to use the scroll she had retrieved from her pocket. Pulling it open with her left hand, the scroll unfurling to reveal multiple characters. Holding both ends of the scroll, she flipped back up and maneuvered it around, so when her body faced the ground in a starfish post ion, she let the left part of the scroll go. The way Tenten moved slightly reminded Naruto of ribbon dancing as the brunette continued to twirl and flip in the air. Somehow turning back upside down in the mix and back again, doing a hand sign or two, Naruto wasn't sure with the way the girl kept moving and the scroll blocking her view. Soon, the acrobatic stopped as the scroll completely opened and Tenten spun in the air. Due to the speed she was going, the scroll was loosely forming an oval in the air as it warped around the air above and below her. Going slowly at first and going faster and faster until Tenten's body and the scroll became a blur and spun like a top. Inside, Tenten pressed her hand to one of the characters and with a small poof a kunai appeared. Grabbing it and pulling out other weapons from the scroll, Tenten hurled them towards Temari. As the weapons of knives, ninja stars, Seiban needles, scythes, rained down, Ren felt the air shift again as Temari held the top and bottom of her weapon and quickly opened and closed it. The wind blowing everything off course to clatter to the ground uselessly. Temari flipped her fan around, the base on the ground beside her on the girl's left. The cloth inside tan cream color and open just enough to reveal a single purple circle. With nothing left to throw at her from that scroll, Tenten landed on the left side of Temari, opposite the as she had originally jumped from. The scroll fluttering uselessly to the ground. No way, she stopped everything I threw. What has she got in that fan of hers? Tenten asked in disbelief. If throwing weapons is all that she can do, then she stands no chance. Naruto thought. Aha, take a look. Temari told the confused girl. As Dosu watched, he couldn't help but feel bad for the 𝐫𝐞𝐽𝐽 and thought she was pathetic. Temari was the worst opponent for Tenten to go up against. She probably would have had a better chance of winning if she had gone against someone like Yoroi, the boy being a close-range fighter. But that previous attack, Tenten would have done some major damage if he couldn't deflect them all or dodge them. With so many coming at him, it would have been impossible. Tenten would have been able to avoid the chakra drain ability Yoroi had while still doing damage. So the cards were stacked against Tenten from the beginning. Besides the matchup, there was also the fact Tenten didn't seem to have any jutsu she specialized in. She was mostly, if not purely, a taijutsu and weapons expert. Yamanaka at least had her family jutsu, but it's not a combat jutsu. These girls were sorely lacking in ninjutsu in their personal arsenal. This girl has had a longer time period to hone her skills. She should be better than this. She should also have a backup plan in case something like this ever happened. Not planning ahead and having backup plans is sloppy, cocky, and leads to death. Dosu thought below. Temari continued to explain what was in her fan. This is the first moon. There are 2 more. When you see all 3 moons you'll know you've lost the match. She warned. This declaration made Tenten stiffen as Lee called out to her. Tenten, do not play your opponent's game. Maintain focus. Tenten gritted her teeth in frustration at both herself and her teammates. Useless advice. I know, Lee. I know. Well, I was planning to save this for the finals, not wasted on a preliminary round, but it may be now or never. Slipping back into a confident smile, Tenten became serious and determined now she had a new plan. This time she pulled out 2 scrolls. Lee was confused as he watched this. Next to the boy, Guy was also surprised as he knew what his student was going to do next. She's using that already? Neji said nothing as he watched the match, doubting it would work. Thinking Tenten was fated to fail in this round. Working on the scrolls, Tenten crouched down and placed the scrolls on the ground, holding them up to keep them from falling over. Temari tossed her hair back as she laughed. Ha. It won't work, whatever it is. Temari said with a wicked smile. Balancing the 2 scrolls so they stood upright, Tenten formed the hand signs tiger, dragon, monkey, hare, snake, and crossed her arms in front of her. Rising twin dragons. Tenten stated the name of her technique as a mass swirl of smoke billowed forth, making Temari cover she eyes and wind ruffle her hair. Shikamaru looked slightly confused, wondering if this could shift the tides of the match, though he doubted it. Gaara's expression was an emotionless mask as he watched his sister. Soon 2 dragons made of the smoke shot out into the air. Rising up and spin around each other, when the smoke dispersed, it revealed the 2 scrolls. From the center of the smoke, Tenten jumped in between the scrolls, where she began summoning weapons and throws them at her opponent in quick succession. Temari was calm as ever, never once showing fear at the massive weapons being thrown at her. Ha. It doesn't matter how many you throw at me. She said as she lifted her fan up and grabbed the base. It's all the same. Opening it wider as she swung it in a circle around her, crouching at the end. Moon number 2. Effectively blowing away all the weapons. Landing back on the ground with the emptied scrolls, Tenten glared. I'm not done. She yelled as she jumped up into the air once again. Curling into a ball before uncurling and stretching her arms out, Tenten pulled on near invisible strings attached to all of the weapons she had thrown previously, pulling them up into the air again. In the meantime, Temari had gotten a firmer grip on her fan as she prepared for all the weapons currently suspended in the air. With a grunt and a wave of her hands, Tenten sent all the weapons down at Temari. Temari grunted at the challenge before her. Seeing this reaction, Tenten smiled and grew overconfident as she drew closer to the ground. Ha, I've got her now. Temari then smirked as she chuckled. This was too easy for her. With another wave of her fan, Tenten and her weapons were blown back. Her body skidding to a halt as she landed on the ground. Looking back at Temari, weapons littered to floor between them and around the 𝐫𝐞𝐽𝐽. The fan fully open, revealing the 3 purple moons. Tenten soon sat up and noticed the open fan herself as Temari smiled and taunted her. Moon number 3. Standing up, Tenten watched as Temari moved the fan so she crouched behind him and the fan's blank back was facing the brunette. Then, with a spin or 2, Temari and her fan disappeared before Tenten's eyes. Where did she go? She's gone. Tenten thought as she looked around for the missing girl. Over here. Temari called out behind Tenten. The girl whipping around. What? She thought in shock. Above her, Temari was gliding through the air, riding the fan as she smirked down at her opponent, her shadow passing over Tenten as she circled back around and landed in front of her. Patching her fan again, Temari smirked as she used her finishing move for this match. Now it's my turn. Wind scythe jutsu. The open fan creating a whirlwind as she waved it back and forth. Tenten being blown right off her feet. Tenten. Lee called out to her. The wind was keeping her suspended in the air as she screamed. The wind was cutting into her clothing and skin. Temari just standing there as the wind kept moving on its own. Noticing this, Neji informed his sensei and teammate. Temari's chakra is controlling the vortex. Huh? Lee asked as he turned his attention away from the match to look at the Hyuga. She fought well, but she'll never escape from that whirlwind. It's over. Neji concluded. The whirlwind didn't dissipate yet, but it did slow down and allowed Tenten's body fall from its clutches, only to land on the end of Temari's closed metal fan as she stretched it out for this exact purpose. The impact causing Tenten to cough out blood. Naruto smirked. Whoa, that girl was really ruthless. Meanwhile, the rest of the room were still focused on the match, though it was clear it was already over, even if Hate hadn't called it yet. Oh, Tenten. Lee said sadly as he watched the unnecessary damaging being done to her. Wasn't much of a match. Kind of boring. Temari remarked as she looked at Tenten. To be able to stop every one of Tenten's attacks like that. Guy muttered, still unable to wrap his mind around the concept and what happened before his very eyes. I still cannot believe it. Lee said, sharing his sensei's sentiments. It was impressive, all right. That Temari is scary. Naruto. Joji didn't seem that fazed by what happened, though he along with Shikamaru already predicted how the match would end, so there was no need to be. Yep, it's another win for the Sand Village, just like you said it would be. Choji spoke to his friend beside him. Well, of course. That's why I said it. The lazy genius replied. Well, looks like we're guaranteed a clean sweep in this round. Kankuro observed. Gaara said nothing as he only hummed, actually bothering to acknowledge his elder brother. The Sand team is clearly one to be feared. Hokage muttered as he smoked his pipe. Below, Heiei picked his way through the minefield of falling weapons. Coming to a stop, he announced the winner of the match, though it was already crystal clear. The winner of the sixth match, Temari. Smirking with achievement and a wicked thought in her mind, Lee gasped at Temari's expression. Wait a second. Lee shouted, fearing the Sand Kunoichi was about to do something bad to his already injured teammate. Lee jumped from the balcony. Heiei hummed as he turned towards Lee to see what the problem was. Pulling back her arm slightly along with her fan holding up the unconscious Tenten, Temari swung it and threw the brunette off of her weapon. Tenten was sent flying over her fallen weapons. She would have possibly landed on the sharp objects and injured herself further if Lee had not jumped down and caught her. Sliding back as he kneeled with a slight ugh. Gently holding Tenten's body in a more comfortable position. Watching this, Temari's smirk only grew. Hey, nice catch. What is wrong with you? Lee demanded. She may have lost, but that is no way to treat an opponent who has done her best. Temari picked up her fan and smacked it into the ground. Oh, beat it. She ordered. And take that sack of garbage with you. Her voice filled with nothing but contempt. This only infuriated Lee as he put Tenten down and moved to strike the girl who dared hurt his teammate and insult her so. Charging at the Sand Ninja. Seeing this, Neji called out to the ninja. No, Lee. Lee. Guy called out, trying to stop Lee. But Lee would not listen anymore, too far gone in his anger. Leaf Hurricane. He cried out as he tried to do a roundhouse kick. Idiot, Naruto thought. Only for Temari to block it with her fan. Lee uttering a confused what, seeing his attack so easily blocked. Not even close. Temari taunted as she looked Lee in the eye. You know what? You're as dumb as you look. She concluded. What did you say? Lee growled as he backed off a bit but looked ready to try and attack again. Lee, stop. Guy ordered as he joined them on the ground floor. But Guy-sensei. Lee tried to protest as he turned towards the man he admired. Temari gritted her teeth in irritation from being interrupted. Above, Gaara called out to his sister. Temari, forget them. The match is over, so get up here. He ordered. You won. Why are you wasting your time with that pathetic loser and his ridiculous mentor? What? Lee whispered, his anger rising again. Lee glaring at the redeed as Gaara looked down on him with contempt and a motionless mask. Naruto sighed at the argument and spoke up. Break it up. Attracting Lee's attention away from Gaara as he continued. Lee, from the beginning, this wasn't a match Tenten was going to win. She didn't lose because of her skills, there were many factors that lead to her defeat. She lost her patience and I don't think she had any other options. Against someone else, Tenten probably would have won. This time, she didn't. After she undergoes more training and gets stronger, she can take the exam again. It's not the end of the world. Getting angry and attacking Temari will change nothing about the match's outcome. You'll only get yourself kicked out of the exam. I doubt Tenten would want that. Naruto stated. Lee looked up at Naruto in slight disappointment and betrayal. Even though he didn't know Naruto on a personal level. They were still comrades. Naruto's words slightly hurt when he said nothing about Temari's uncalled for actions to Tenten. Then, Lee looked down at the ground in shame. Naruto had a point. Tenten wouldn't want him be kicked out. Naruto then turned to Guy. Tenten is skilled, but she needs more than those tools. Her attacks are useless if they can just be blown away. Her failure to prepare and plan ahead shows she's not ready to be a chunin. As her sensei, you should have helped her see the flaws in her tactics and have backup plans to overcome them. Getting on to Guy as well. HMPH. Temari smirked, enjoying both for the ninja before getting a tongue lashing from Naruto. Naruto then turned his head to look down at Temari. He lifted his blindfold slightly. His eye narrowing at Temari. The emotions within his eye was cold. Disgust and annoyance were evident. Temari nearly shivered. Naruto's eye reminded her all too well of her youngest brother when he was angered. As for you. Naruto said as everyone waited to see what he would say to the Sand Village girl. Naruto tilted his head as he looked at the girl below. Her team gasped as did many of the others as he smiled at the girl. But it wasn't a happy smile. It was a sadistic smile. If I even catch you treating your opponent in such dishonorable way ever again, to someone undeserving of such contempt and disgust you've shown. By the time I'm done with you, you will be even less than garbage. Naruto's voice dark as he promised this. Temari couldn't contain her shivers from the threat. The whole thing reminding her of her brother in uncanny ways. Ara looked at Naruto in surprise. Having not expected such a thing from him. The rookies were definitely shocked when they heard this. The room was silent until Guy broke it as he placed a hand on Lee's shoulder. Just calm down, Lee. Then addressed the Sand Ninja. A word of warning. You Sand villagers have no idea what Lee is capable of. Remember, he still hasn't fought yet. So I'd be careful if I were you. Ara narrowed his eyes at the warning. Becoming irritated. Still on the opposite balcony, Neji said nothing. That kid's crazy picking a fight with him. Kiba remarked. Akamaru's still shaking. From the Sand Ninja or something else, who knew? Those Sand Village guys are trouble. They're the last people I'd want to go up against. Kiba spoke to Hinata. They do look almost unbeatable. Hinata fretted. But just now, Naruto was kinda scary too. Tension was still high in the room, Guy's words not helping calm things down really. Naruto caught Gaara staring at him. Looking at him, Naruto wondered if he was staring at him because he had freaked out his sister. As they stared at each other, they didn't look away or back down. However, their stares were not as harsh as the ones between Gaara and others like Sasuke and Neji. They were calm and simply observing the other. On the other side of Gaara, Temari was glaring at Naruto. Trying to hide her fear. Kankuro was also weary of him. He always thought his brat of a brother was scary, but what scared him more was the possibility of someone just as twisted and scary as his brother existing out there somewhere. He feared he had finally met that person. Osu and Kin were staring at Naruto with fear in their eyes. Soon, Lee and his sensei returned to their side of the room as Medic Ninja took Tenten away. After clearing the room of all of Tenten's weapons, the electric board worked its magic as it emitted digital sounds. Soon it would choose and reveal the next combatants for the 7th match. As they waited in anticipation, Naruto and Lee were all fired up. Here we go. Let it be me. Please, let it be me. Let it be me. Naruto. No, it's my turn. My turn. Lee argued back like a child as they both wanted to go next. Lee wanting to fight the last Sand Ninja and get revenge for his fallen teammate. Their chants, pleas, and prayers were denied as neither of their names were chosen. Instead, the board read, Shikamaru Nara vs Kintsuchi. Lee groaned in disappointment while Naruto let out a short growl as he crossed his arms and turned his back on the match. Shikamaru wasn't too happy about this as he drawled out, guess it's me. His hands in his pockets as he waited for his opponent to come down to the ground floor and face him. Meanwhile, his team was cheering him on. Shikamaru, come on. You can do it. You can win this, no problem. Ino encouraged. Okay. Shikamaru gruffly replied. All you have to do is tell yourself, I cannot lose. Right. Ino encouraged him further. Beside her, Choji wasn't quite pleased with Ino's new attitude. Man, when did she get so darn enthusiastic? He complained in his mind. Rin left the balcony to go and fight her match. Ino meanwhile continued her cheers. Yeah, okay. Here we go, Shikamaru. Make that little girl cry. Oh man, this is such a drag. I mean, give me a break. I gotta fight a girl. Shikamaru complained as he ignored Ino, his hands still in his pockets. Yeah, you just keep thinking that way, little man. Kin replied angrily. Ready? The proctor called out. Oh, well. Shikamaru. 6th match. Hayde announced. Nothing I can do. Shikamaru thought. Both prepared themselves as Hayde addressed them. Shikamaru and Kin. Begin. Shikamaru didn't waste a moment as his hands flew to form the ninja hand sign of the rat. The only hand sign required for his clan's signature technique, the shadow possession jutsu. It's all I've got. He muttered. No matter what try you will lose. Kin. Ninja art, shadow possession jutsu. Shikamaru said as he activated his jutsu, his shadow stretching towards Kin from his body, attached only by his feet. Is that all you know? If that's the only trick you've got, this is going to be easier than I thought. Kin informed him as she jumped away from the approaching shadow. Shikamaru tensed as he heard the sound of bells. Kin having thrown 2 senbon with bells attached as she jumped away. Ducking, the belled needles went over his head as they embedded themselves into the wall behind him. Looking over his shoulder, Shikamaru quickly thought of the purpose of these objects and what strategy the sound Kunoichi had in mind. Bells. Oh, please. Not that old trick. Shikamaru said with a chuckle and a smirk. Let me guess. Next, you'll throw senbon with bells and senbon without bells at the same time. I'll react to the bells and while I'm focused on dodging them, I won't notice the silent needles coming at me. Am I right? Good luck. He told her, growing confident in his analysis. You sure talk a lot, don't you? Kin observed as she ran towards him and threw more senbon at him. Shikamaru's smile remained as he ducked to his left and then down. Now I know to be careful to dodge all the senbon, not just the ones with bells. What Shikamaru didn't calculate or expect was the sound of bells ringing, even though he hadn't seen Kin throw any. Shocked, Shikamaru whirled around. What? Where? He thought, demanding an answer. Behind him, almost innocently, the senbon Kin had thrown previously were somehow being moved, the bells ringing. Looking closely, Shikamaru noticed the glint of threads attached as they pull on the bells. Threads? Shikamaru questioned before he realized his mistake. He had gotten distracted and Kin was still there now ready to attack again. Smirking, Kin was ready. Oh, man. Too late. Kin declared as she threw 2 more of the silent senbon at Shikamaru, hitting their target as Shikamaru was forced back on his bum. Ah! He yelled out in pain. Up on the balcony, Choji said nothing as he no calling out to him in worry. Shikamaru. Standing up, Shikamaru moved to pull out the senbon stuck in his right arm, slightly above his elbow. 1 inch higher and that would have been a fatal hit. Gritting his teeth, he pulled them out and turned to Kin. Okay, now I get a turn. He declared as he tossed the senbon away and they clinked to the floor. Sorry, that was your turn. Kin replied as she tugged the thread attached to the bells. The sound of the bells beginning to affect Shikamaru as things around him seemed to shift and he became unbalanced. What's going on? Ugh. Shikamaru asked as he sunk down to his knees before glaring at the source of what was probably causing this. Seeing her plan working just as she hoped, Kin began explaining what was happening. Her hand resting on her hip. You see, you don't ever ask for whom the bell tolls, because it tolls for thee. This bell sends off a peculiar sound vibration that travels through the outer and inner ear, then directly to the brain. First comes paralysis, and soon you'll start hallucinating. Hearing this, Shikamaru had begun to sweat as the bells kept ringing. He grunted as he covered his ears in a vain attempt to block out the noise. It won't work. You can't block the sound out once it's inside your head. It's useless. Kin spoke. Meanwhile, just as Kin said, Shikamaru begun to hallucinate as more Kin appeared. Removing his hands from his ears, Shikamaru wasn't looking too good, still sweating. I can't tell which one of them is the real one. You can't move your arms or legs. And even if you could, you wouldn't know which one of us to throw your shadow at. Face it, you're cooked, little man. Kin spoke. I'm going to cook you nice and slow over a hot fire. Kin promised as she took out 3 senbon. The bells continuing to toll. Do you think it's that easy, huh? Shikamaru asked. Kin did not answer as she threw the senbon. Seeing them coming, he braced himself. Ah! Shikamaru cried out as the senbons hit 2 places on his arm and 1 in his shoulder. Once again falling on his bum. That was 3. Next time, I'll throw 5. Each time, a couple more till you end up looking like a hedgehog. Kin taunted. His hair already looks like a pineapple. He doesn't need to become spikier. Naruto thought. Stop playing games, why don't you? Shikamaru asked her. Kin asked. If you're so tough, get it over with. Stop wasting my time. Shikamaru told her. I'm sorry. So you're not a fan of my slow and painful method, huh? Kin asked with false politeness. The bells ringing yet again. Fine, suit yourself. We'll do it the quick way then, and painful. She said as she pulled out 3 more senbon. Shikamaru looked worried at this declaration. Watching this, Naruto noticed something. He looked at the shadow of the thread. He's got this one in the bag. Naruto thought. Before Kin could attack, something strange was happening and she couldn't throw the senbon. What's wrong? Unknown to the spectators, the hallucinating of Kin had disappeared. Can't move my arm. Her arm lowered to her side. This development shocked Osu. Huh? Shikamaru chuckled a little as he stood up. It looks like my lame shadow jutsu was a success after all. Others watched this in shock. But you haven't thrown any shadows. No way, I made sure of it. Kin protested as she looked around her. Shikamaru smirked. Ha. You really still don't see it? What do you mean? Kin asked, close to freaking out. Look at that thread you're holding. Don't you find it a little strange that it would cast a shadow at this height? Shikamaru asked her, the shadows moving on their own. Of course you didn't notice it because you were concentrating on other things, like killing me. Looking down as the shadow grew around her, Kin scolded herself for her stupidity. The shadow spreading out around me and I didn't see it coming. Right. I stretched my shadow out along the line of that thread and followed it all the way back. Now I'm attached to you. Shikamaru informed her as he raised his hand, Kin mirroring him. Yet, Kin wasn't backing down, thinking there was still no way for Shikamaru to win. And now, so we mirror each other's movements. So what? A cute trick, but what do you gain by it? Man, you're annoying. Shikamaru complained. Shut up and watch. He ordered as he reached for his shuriken holder with Kin doing the same. Shikamaru hummed as he smirked at Kin. Realizing what he was doing, Kin started to freak out. You must be insane. If you throw that shuriken at me, you'll just be attacking yourself. Not caring for her words, Shikamaru took out the weapon anyway and ready to throw it. Makes it kind of interesting, doesn't it? You wouldn't. You couldn't. Kin protested. Yeah, like a game of chicken. Let's see who ducks first. Shikamaru suggested as he threw his weapon. You're crazy. Kin yelled as she had no choice but to throw hers as well. Both shuriken passed the other as everyone watched with bated breath. Seeing the weapon coming, Shikamaru bended over backward, narrowly missing the sharp object that had been thrown at him. Kin smirked as she watched this. Big deal. I'll do that too. She thought as she attempted to do the same. She did miss getting hit only for her to hit her head on the back wall, effectively knocking herself out. And that's what I call using your head. Shikamaru joked. Hearing Kin's body crumple to the ground, Shikamaru flipped himself over and landed on his feet. The wise shinobi carefully scouts the physical layout of the battlefield and never loses sight of his position on it. That was her problem. I made sure she was so busy focusing on me, she didn't notice the wall inches behind her head. So when we both dodged backwards, kabong. Now who's hearing bells? Shikamaru explained with a hint of gloating. Not missing a beat, Heid announced the results. Winner of the 7th match, Shikamaru Nara. Atta boy, Shikamaru. Ino cheered. Yeah, way to go. Choji cheered on his best friend. Come on, me next. Me next, me next, me. Lee chanted. Naruto was slightly disgruntled with his own unfortunate luck, sorely wishing for his own turn to get here already. Even that good-for-nothing lazy bum won his match. When am I going to get my turn? Ugh. Now there's only me left. Dosu observed angrily. Next fight. 𝐫𝐞𝐻 vs Gaara. Proctor, I forfeit. 𝐫𝐞𝐻 shouted. He knew it was dangerous to take him on. Gaara was angry because he didn't get to fight. Once again the screen flashed as it did its job. Naruto Uzumaki vs Rock Lee. Good luck, Naruto. Do your best. Sakura encouraged her teammate. Don't worry, I am the strongest. Naruto. It's finally my turn. Lee thought excited. The both went down. The room was quiet as everyone settled down to watch. Most were hoping for a less gruesome battle between the two Leaf Genin. No one said a word on who they thought would win. No one even shouted words of encouragement. What they had witnessed before had stolen any cheer they could have possibly have. The Hokage was in a similar mood, but despite this, he was looking forward to Naruto's match. Wanting to see the progress the boy that once did nothing but play pranks. He was proud Naruto had made it this far. Come on Naruto, you can do it. Haruka thought. Geez, there is no way Naruto can even come close to winning. Shikamaru said to his teammates on the balcony. Yeah, you're right, I still find it surprising Naruto became a Genin. Lucky him. He got the dead last, Kiba thought. I pity that guy going up against that monster Naruto. Dosu thought. He's fated to lose against Lee. Neji thought. Gee, good luck Naruto. Hinata thought to herself. It just had to be Guy's prodigy. It looks like Naruto is losing this one. Kakashi thought. Show him the power of your youth. Guy shouted. Yes, Guy-sensei. Lee. You may have beaten me before, but this time things are different. Naruto. We will see. Lee. Before we begin, let me stretch for a bit. Naruto. Lee did some stretches as well. Okay, I am done now. Naruto. Lee stopped as well. After a few seconds, Heid raised his hand and signaled the beginning of the match. Begin. Lee was off, starting with a roundhouse kick. Konoha Senpu, Leaf Whirlwind. He shouted. Naruto blocked it. Naruto's hand quickly shifted to his opponent's leg. Grabbing it and spinning around, he slammed Lee into the ground. Lee planted his hands on the ground in a breakfall, then shot out his other leg in a mule kick. Naruto jumped back, so Lee used the momentum from his failed kick to ride himself to a standing position. 𝐻𝐻 leaf great whirlwind. Lee shouted, starting with a low kick that was blocked. He then rotated, going for a middle kick followed by a high kick. Naruto still blocked the strikes. He disappeared then reappeared behind Lee, performing a speedy roundhouse kick. His opponent wasn't fast enough to block it, so he took the kick head-on. A mistake on Lee's part, he realized as he was flung like a mere ragdoll across the arena. Naruto was not done, in fact he just started. He shifted to the offensive and quickly pummeled Lee into the ground again and again. Most of the spectators were surprised as they saw this as they didn't think Naruto stood a chance against Lee. "Lee, take them off," Guy yelled from the balcony. "But Guy-sensei, you said I could only take them off when my precious people or Nindo was threatened." "This is an exception, Lee," Guy shouted, giving a nice guy pose with a thumbs up and his teeth gleaming. "Alright," Lee replied, jumping to the top of the statue of the third's hands. He took off his orange leg warmers, revealing a set of weights underneath. When he dropped them down, they landed in a giant crater with a loud boom. "Guy, are you crazy?" Kakashi scolded. "He can handle them," Guy replied. Lee disappeared in a show of speed, attacking with a large variation of strikes. Naruto kept up with him easily as he dodged him. How is he keeping up with Lee? Kakashi thought, surprised. I was impressed by this. Naruto appeared behind Lee and delivered a powerful blow, which sent him flying into a wall. Himari was shaking as she was watching the battle. It only has been a few days, and yet he's become this strong. Neji thought, perplexed as he saw Naruto's strength. I guess I was wrong, Shikamaru. What the hell? How the hell did the dope change so much? 𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐵. Naruto is amazing. Hinata. Foolish. They underestimated him because of his past failures. They didn't even consider how he's changed. For instance, how can he see through that blindfold? Naruto must have awakened a dojutsu. Shino thought. Lee quickly recovers, demonstrating his ability to open the first gate. He then powers himself up by opening the second gate and third gate. Guy and Neji have flashbacks to before Lee became a genin and right after he became one, showing his determination to be a respectable ninja through only the use of taijutsu. Lee followed up with the fourth and fifth gate. His power and speed increased hundredfold, with his skin turning red. A blue aura surrounded him. What the hell were you thinking? Teaching him the gates? Kakashi asked. Guy replied, it's his last resort to save his precious people and guard his Nindo. Nothing is more important than that. Kakashi sighed. It's over for Naruto now. Guy. I wouldn't count on that. Sakura smirked. Does Naruto have something up his sleeve? Kakashi thought. Lee's movements became a blur. He started attacking Naruto from all directions. Lee failed to land a single hit on Naruto, although the latter was standing still. There it is. Dosu thought as he remembered how he couldn't hit Naruto. Finally he's using it. Sakura thought as she remembered Dosu couldn't land a single hit on him. And how he had blocked Zaku's supersonic slicing wave. Lee continued to attack but still failed. Most of the spectators were surprised as they saw this. How is Lee unable to land single a hit on Naruto? Guy said, shocked. Neji used his Byakugan but saw that Naruto wasn't using a jutsu to protect himself. How is he able to do that, Neji thought. Lee's attacks can't reach him. It's as if Naruto has a barrier surrounding his body. The Hokage thought. How interesting. His near-death helped him evolve this much. The Sound Jonin thought, impressed. He wasn't that interested in other battles except Sasuke's. He only stayed because he heard Naruto's voice when he cheered on Sasuke. The Sound Jonin was surprised that Naruto had survived their encounter, but he paid no mind to it as he concluded Naruto survived due to his Uzumaki genes and his Jinchuriki status. Lee, didn't you hear what I said earlier? I am the strongest. Naruto. If you are the strongest, then face me. Lee. Okay, fine, Naruto. The two movements became blurs. Naruto started delivering multiple critical blows to Lee, all of them ending in black flashes. The damage from the black flashes and usage of the inner gates proved tremendous. Lee could only gasp out in pain. Naruto's blows reduced Lee to his knees. Lee, get up. Guy shouted. It's over, sensei. Neji said with a serious expression. Sakura cheered for Naruto. Is this really Naruto? Team 8, Team 10 and Kakashi thought. Team 8 was about to call the match until Lee stood up. Lee, stay down. You have already lost. Naruto. Lee refused and tried to attack. His attempts failed as he unable hit Naruto due to his infinity. I admire your spirit. I guess we'll end this battle with one of my strongest attacks. Naruto. Lee found some himself unable to move. Naruto was using his limitless to manipulate the space around Lee to hold him in place. Curse technique reversal. Red. Naruto said as he blasted Lee. Lee, Guy screamed, worried. When the smoke cleared, the damage was revealed. The spectators were shocked as they saw the large crater in the ground. Ara was drooling as he eyed Naruto with a battle-crazed look. The sound Jonin was licking his lips. 𝐸8 looked at the unconscious Lee. He declared Naruto the victor. Naruto took off his blindfold for a brief moment and looked at everyone. Remember this, weaklings. Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one. I, Naruto Gojo, am the strongest Naruto. Naruto smiled. Afterwards he put his blindfold back on. You better remember. If you forget, I will murder you, Naruto said, jumping around. They didn't take his threat seriously as they saw this goofy act. That was amazing, Naruto, Sakura cheered, leaning against the rail to shout down at her teammate. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. That boy never ceases to amaze me. The Hokage spoke, grandfatherly pride lacing his voice as he watched with a fond smile. I can't wait to kill him, Gaara thought. Is he really that same loudmouth brat? Kankuro thought. He's gone to a higher level in just a few days. Kakashi thought, impressed with his student and his tremendous growth. Whatever training method Kakashi used, it sure worked. Asuma thought, impressed that a sensei like Kakashi, who had failed team after team after team, would be able to produce such amazing students. Kurenai blinked rapidly, her mind trying to connect what she remembered in the past to what she was seeing now. Can this really be the same little goofball? Unbelievable. Who would have thought he could beat Lee? Shikamaru asked, happily. Amazed Naruto had come such a long way. A major upset, Choji added. Who would have thought the Naruto I used to know could ever be this strong and handsome? Ino thought, looking back at Lee. Guy sighed as he was carried away on a stretcher. You have nothing to be ashamed of, Lee. Who could have imagined he would be such a strong opponent? So he's learned some new techniques since our encounter, sound Jonin thought. Naruto joined up with his team. How were you able to keep up with Lee? His speed is no joke. And why couldn't he hit you? Kakashi asked, curious. That encounter inspired me. Thanks to that I have gained great power. Naruto. What encounter? Were the thoughts of teammate 10 and Team Guy. His near-death helped become more powerful, Kakashi thought. The board started going through the last 4 names. Neji looked up at the board as the names were decided. Hinata Hyuga vs Neji Hyuga. Upon seeing it, Hinata wished she hadn't, gasping in fear and shock when she received one of the worst possible matchups she could have gotten. 𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐵 gritted his teeth in frustration and worry. Kurenai looked concerned. Hinata. Ino narrowed his bushy eyebrows in worry. He knew his student might cause trouble with this match. This should be an interesting match indeed, the Hokage thought. Neji didn't look happy seeing the names on the board, but he wasn't fearful like Hinata was. Perhaps he thought it was simply fate for him to fight the heiress of the main branch. Since it could not be avoided, he merely accepted it. Standing face to face, there was a tense atmosphere between them. I never thought that you and I would have to face each other, Hinata. Neji spoke. Nor I, brother. Hinata replied, her eyes downcast, unable to look at Neji's that seemed to be staring into her soul. With nothing else happening, 𝐸8 proceeded. Alright, you may begin when ready. Moving into a stance, Neji had something to say to Hinata before they fought. Before we do this, a word of advice. Hinata, listen to me. He told her, the heiress glancing up to meet his eyes. Withdraw now. You know you were never meant to be a ninja. He stated, making Hinata freeze up. You're too kind and gentle. You seek harmony and avoid conflict. You allow yourself to be easily swayed by others. He pointed out. Knowing he had some fair points, Hinata looked away, unable to face him. Admit it, you have no confidence. You feel inferior to everyone else here. It would have been better for you to simply remain a genin, but to register for the Chunin exams, you need a team of 3 people. You never even wanted to take part in these exams, but Shino and Kiba did, and you couldn't bear to let your teammates down, could you? Neji asked, his anger clear. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Hinata denied, shaking her head at his accusations. I had to find out. I did it because I wanted to see if I could change. She admitted. No one said anything, but it was clear that Sakura, Kakashi, Kiba, Shino, and Kurenai were all concerned. Hinata. Kurenai thought, recalling when she first became Hinata's sensei and met the head of the Hyuga clan. How strict he was on his youngest daughter in her training. The girl had been panting and strained to get back up on her father's orders. Then the way he was so cold when referring to Hinata. It was then, Kurenai couldn't help but feel compassion for the student under her wing. Hinata has struggled to become what she wanted to be. Kurenai thought. Naruto saw Hinata's expression, she looked as if she wanted to cry. Neji was unmoved by this, continuing to slander her. Hinata, you are the pampered offspring of the Hyuga's main branch. What? Hinata asked, confused. Never having considered her life pampered. People can't change no matter how hard they try. Neji declared, shocking Hinata. They can't run away from their true nature. A failure will always be a failure. People are judged by their true nature. It is the way of the world. That is why we have an elite and we there are outcasts. We can change our physical appearance, improve our skills with training and studying, but ultimately we are judged by what we cannot change. Neji continued to ramble, preaching his bitter views as Hinata seemed to have a hard time controlling her breath. His words having an impact on Hinata, confusing her and allowing her doubts to fill the crevices of her tender heart. What can't be changed must be endured. We are who we are, Hinata. And we must live with it, just as I must live with the fact that you were born into the elite of our clan, while I am from a lesser branch. I understand these things because I see the world clearly with my Byakugan. Despite your brave words, what you're really thinking is that you'd like to run as far away from here as you can. Neji declared. No, you're wrong. You're wrong about me. Hinata denied. Hinata's mind was whirling as she listened, she didn't want to, but she did. Her breathing still harsh, she nearly had to fight for it. She began to feel fear as she recognized the stance Neji had adopted. Activating the 𝐫𝐞𝐽 they both shared through the blood flowing in their veins. Byakugan. Neji yelled. His eyes, so distinctive, being characterized by their enlarged and featureless lavender eyes with no visible pupils, had changed slightly. His pupils become more distinct and the veins near the temples bulged. Hinata looked downright petrified seeing those merciless eyes glaring at her. Flinching from the harshness. Trembling, she was practically on thin air as she tried to breathe. The eyes with their coldness became too much for her as she looked away to the left, possibly towards Naruto, for courage. Only to wander back to the ground. Bringing her arms up and closer to herself. My eyes cannot be deceived. Neji growled, making Hinata jump from the sound of his voice. Her form breaking out into a cold sweat. Just one moment ago, in the slightest of movements, your gaze drifted toward the upper left corner of the room. I saw at that moment you were thinking of your past, your bitter past. And then, almost immediately after your gaze drifted toward the lower right. It was a mere flicker of the eyes, but to me it revealed all your mental and physical suffering. You're seeing your old self and wondering if your life has prepared you for this moment. You're picturing the outcome of the battle. You see yourself losing. Neji predicted. This weakling sure likes to listen to the sound of his own voice. Naruto thought. All Hinata could do was let her jaw drop in horror as Neji kept dragging out her deepest fears. That familiar gesture of putting your finger to your lips, I know that it's a desperate attempt to suppress your raising panic, made all the more desperate because you know it's futile. Neji declared. His words seeming to be triggering a panic attack. It's all futile, Hinata. You're what you are. Whether you admit it or not, you already know. Neji told her. Shut up. Who gave you the right to tell her what she can or can't be? Go on, Hinata. Show this guy he's wrong. Naruto cheered. Naruto. Hinata thought, unshed tears lingering in her eyes. Naruto called out to the female Hyuga again. Hinata, you're just going to stand there and take that do something. Looking down to the ground, Hinata took in their words. His right. Hinata thought glumly. Neji deactivated his Byakugan and looked at Naruto. Annoying little pest. Neji thought before turning away from the blonde. And looked at Hinata. He was unable to see her eyes, head hanging down as she looked at the floor. Naruto, you are right. Hinata thought, lifting her head up to face her cousin, now filled with determination to fight and prove Neji wrong. Thank you. The look in her eye has changed. Neji noted mentally, surprised by the development, but not too worried. If you don't forfeit the match, you know what will happen. He warned her. Hinata ignored this as she rapidly performed multiple hand signs. Horse, tiger with just index fingers, boar with nearly straightened fingers, hare, rat, dog, horse, dog, hare, rat, boar with nearly straightened fingers, and snake with the right index finger lifted. I won't run away. Never again. No more hiding. Hinata vowed, as memories of Naruto's declarations when facing tough challenges filled her mind, strengthening her before she opened her eyes. Byakugan. Kurenai and Shino, they were worried. Defend yourself, my brother. Hinata warned him as she slipped into the Hyuga clan stance. I watched the fight with a grim look. Reactivating his own doujutsu, Neji's form became a mirror image of Hinata's stance as he too prepared for combat. Very well then. The Hyugas, both were silent as they waited for the perfect moment to strike. At the exact same moment, the two leaped forward, closing in the distance between them. Hinata striking Neji's forearm with her open palm as he blocked it, wisp of chakra burst into the air. From there came a recurring pattern of trying to strike, dodge, and bending over backwards. Soon, the pattern was broken as Hinata saw an opening. Now. She thought as her palms seemed to graze the area around Neji's stomach. Backing away from her, Neji stopped attacking for the moment. Hinata doing the same. Did she get him? Sakura asked, leaning on the bar for a closer look. No, she hardly touched him. Naruto. Even so, a glancing blow is enough. That is what makes the Hyuga clan the most formidable of fighters. Guy explained. What does? What are you talking about? Sakura asked, not quite understanding what he was saying. Their taijutsu is a unique one that's been passed down for generations. Guy explained, Neji and Hinata each taking steps as they began to circle the other, while Guy explained. It's not the kind of taijutsu Lee and I employ. We tend to concentrate on inflicting external damage. We use crushing blows to raise contusions and break limbs, pounding our enemy. The Hyuga way is to attack their opponent's internal organs and the chakra network through which the chakra flows. Their way is more subtle. Perhaps not as thrilling to watch, but it gradually takes effect with devastating results. You see, you can't build up your internal organs, no matter how hard you train. Even the toughest ninja is vulnerable to this kind of attack, Kakashi added. Soon, Neji and Hinata were at it again, striking, blocking, and dodging. I can do this. Hinata thought as she aimed for Neji's shoulder. She's giving him all that he can handle. Shino observed, watching how Neji was having some difficulty keeping the current pace and trying to find an opening. Hinata. Kurenai fretted. Pushing the other back, the two Hyugas separated. Naruto cheered her on. They attacked the chakra network. Sakura asked, hardly believing it. These people are amazing. Yeah, you could say that again. So what is the chakra network anyway? Naruto asked, once again clueless. Ugh. Don't you know anything? Sakura groaned. Here, I will explain it. Guy offered. It is the complex system of circulatory canals that distribute chakra throughout the body, similar to a person's vascular system, the veins and arteries that carry blood. I get it. Naruto. Furthermore, the chakra network is so closely interwoven with all the most vital internal organs that they are virtually one and the same. Therefore, when the network is attacked, these organs suffer damage as well. Guy, but sensei, how do they know where to strike their opponent? I mean, the chakra network is invisible to the eye, right? So how do they know exactly where to land their blows? Sakura asked. You're forgetting their Byakugan. There are few things invisible to those eyes. What's more, when they strike a blow, it's a little different from a normal attack. A small but intense burst of their own chakra is released from their hand. It drills into the opponent's body, directly attacking his chakra network. Kakashi explained. That exact moment being where the two Hyuga landed a direct attack to the torso. Hinata's appearing to hit first and Neji's close second. Yeah, get him. Naruto cheered. As for everyone else, their eyes widened. Their eyes zeroing in on the two below, furrowing in concern. Each wondering the outcome of that attack. Did she get him? Shino wondered. Both were silent and still, making those watching hold their breaths for the outcome. Inaudible to those in the room, a heartbeat began to change its tempo, slowly beginning to work harder than normal. Team 10 was silent. It was disturbing how quiet Iz was, but even then, they couldn't hear the quickening heartbeats, nor the wet thud of Hinata's heart before she gave a sharp choked cry as blood escaped her lips. Neji's right hand having hit her in the chest while his left hand held out his index and middle finger, stabbing a pressure point on her arm. Shit, Naruto thought. Hinata's blood dripped down from her mouth and handed on his bandaged hand, beginning to stain them for vermor. So that's it, huh? That's all there is to the main branch's power? Neji asked, incredulous, almost upset there wasn't more to what he was seeing before him. Disappointed. Sakura gasped at the sight. Even with the pain deep in her chest, her breaths rasping as she panted, Hinata's determination did not waver in the slightest. I'm not done yet. Hinata used her other arm to smack away Neji's hand from her torso and aimed for his face. Seeing this coming, Neji moved his head to the side, grabbed her wrist and hit yet another point on her arm, sending a bit of chakra into it. I recognized his move and gritted his teeth, knowing exactly what his student had done. What's with this kid? Kakashi thought in regards to Neji. The way he was fighting not quite sitting well with the copycat ninja. It can't be. Kurenai denied, dread growing in the pit of her stomach. So now I see why he's called the most gifted on to emerge from the Hyuga clan. The Hokage thought, smiling despite the situation. Proud to have such a strong ninja within his village. Locked into position, Hinata was breathing hard, her eyesight growing slightly fuzzy. Still holding the heiress's arm, Neji used the arm he had hit the pressure point to push the sleeve of her jacket up, revealing small red welts scattered across her flesh. Marks he, himself, had created. Upon seeing them, Hinata realized what he had done. But you mean all this time she stuttered, mind racing with the new development. That's right. I can see your chakra points the whole time. Neji answered. The elder boy having closed off chakra in her arm, leaving her attacks futile against him. Down on the ground floor, Neji continued to fight as he pushed Hinata back. Ah! She cried out, landing with a thud as she landed on her back, skidding to a halt. Look, Hinata, I'm completely out of your league, and that won't change. This is what separates the elite from the failures. Neji explained, preaching his philosophy to her, trying to drill it into her head and make her give up. To prove his point. Hinata said nothing, simply panting as she turned her head to look at him. You may not like it, but it's a fact. From the instant you said you wouldn't run anymore, your fate was sealed. You were destined to be a failure. And now you're consumed with hopelessness. Neji said, trying to play his mind games on her. Now this is your last warning, Hinata. Neji warned, stepping closer. Forfeit this match. Hinata stuttered, breaking into harsh sobs of pain as blood dribbled from her mouth and to the floor. Neji hummed, eyebrows furrowing in confusion, wondering what this failure before him was trying to say. Hoping it was her surrender to her fate. Pushing herself up on shaking arms, Hinata tried to speak her mind. I never go back. Hinata. Naruto thought, leaning in as he recognized her words. On my word. Because that too is my ninja way. Hinata explained as she stood up and faced Neji, even with blood dripping down the corners of her mouth. Hinata didn't care as she glared at Neji, her eyes filled with fire, even with the situation stacked against her, and her breathing labored. Looking up at her inspiration and idol, Hinata smiled at Naruto. That's my ninja way, Naruto said as he remembered what he said. Sakura. You know, come to think of it, she is always watching you. She mentioned. One stalking fangirl to another. Huh? Naruto asked, having never realized this. Hinata. Hinata continued to smile at him before reactivating her dojutsu, focusing on the battle before her. Seeing this, Neji reactivated his own. Bring it on. He growled. Before she could even take a step forward, her gentle heart thudded painfully in her chest, causing her to gasp at the sudden pain before clutching her chest, crying out as blood escaped her lips once again. Seeing this, Shino, Naruto, Kiba and Sakura grew concerned. She has reached her limit. One more blow and she's done. Kurenai thought, assessing the state of her student. Anyone could tell, even with all her determination, Hinata would not win this fight. Neji ignored this as he moved back into the gentle fist stance. Neji's hits to Hinata's chakra points have completely stopped her chakra flow. That means she can no longer send chakra into her opponent's body to fight in the gentle fist style. This match is as good as over. I never imagined there would be someone this powerful here. I'm afraid that even as strong as Sasuke is, he's no match for Neji. Kakashi considered. Worried for his student. It looks like Neji's gonna win this match. This girl just doesn't have what it takes to bring him down. Guy thought. Even though he should have been happy his student was going to the next round, Guy couldn't help but frown. Whoa. Did you see his eyes? Do you think he's really going to try to kill her? Ino asked, seeing the bad intentions in his eyes. He wouldn't. Doesn't it seem like the difference in strength makes it unfair? He's just way too strong. It's a mismatch. Seriously? Sakura asked, complaining in the unfairness. Hinata. Naruto. Hinata was gasping for breath, each one labored as she struggled. Naruto. Neji saw her expression and was confused. Strength has come back into her eyes. He thought before dismissing it to focus on fighting. Rushing towards Neji, Hinata couldn't help but think. I've been watching you. Her words directed towards Naruto, words she never had the courage to say to him. Aiming for Neji's face he dodged as he counter-attacked, the two of them smacking each other's arms before Hinata tried to kick him. Attempting to kick back, Neji used one hand on the ground for balance. The two of them spinning as they attempted to kick and hit the other. I've been watching you closely for many years now. Hinata continued to think. Her body continuing to attack while her mind was slightly elsewhere. I wonder why. She thought absently. The two cousins exchanging blows and blocking them. Her thoughts recalling the time Naruto had painted the Hokage monument and they all had to retake the transformation exam. Even though it had annoyed her classmates, it was a fond memory of hers. I don't know why, but she thought as she recalled another time when Naruto had showed no fear when facing the intimidating ninja at the first exam. Practically declaring war on them. When I watch you, Naruto, she thought as she performed a roundhouse kick. When I watch you, I feel full of courage. I feel that I can keep going, that I can succeed. That even I am worth something. Ha! She yelled, putting as much force into it as she could before Neji dodged it. Nah! Neji yelled and uppercut her in the chin. Causing the girl to cry out. Kakashi and Sakura gasped at the sight. Hinata Naruto thought worried. Sliding back, Hinata came to a stop and managed to remain standing. Neji observed, eyes narrowing as he grew frustrated Hinata wasn't going down yet. Holding her chest, Hinata could help the sobbing coughs and gasping as she fought for breath. Watching the fight, Kurenai saw the improvement her student had made. Hinata. Hinata used to be such a quitter, but I can see she's changed. Charging at Neji, Hinata's thoughts lingered on her idol. Naruto, until now I have always done the watching. But now, finally, you're the one watching me and I'll show you what I can do. Naruto. Ha. Neji yelled, hitting Hinata in the chest once again, sending a large burst of chakra into her system. Hinata froze, Neji's arm holding her up as her Byakugan deactivated. Crying out and choking out her own blood, Hinata's body fell to the ground. She landed on the ground with a thud. 𝐫𝐸 looked worried, his expression showing he did not expect this. Sakura gasped. Kurenai looked upset, sorry to see her student in such a state, though by this point, deep down, a part of her knew this was one fight Hinata would not win. Naruto gritted his teeth. You just don't get it, do you? Your strikes were ineffective from the very start. You're finished. Neji told his cousin, deactivating his eyes before turning to walk away. Hinata, you've done enough. You lost a match, but you've become a new person in the process. You did great. Kurenai praised. For Naruto, he could help but remember what Hinata had told her cousin, how she wanted to better herself, for things to end like this wasn't right. It's too bad, but after that blow to the heart, Hinata is done. Guy commented sadly. The comment only making Naruto mad. Growling as he ground his teeth together, his hand cracking the cylinder of ointment in his rage. Hinata stayed on the ground, not even a twitch to show she was still conscious. No signs of her getting back up. Stepping forward, 𝐸𝐸 spoke. Since she's no longer able to continue this match. I won't give up. Hinata thought. 𝐸𝐸. Kurenai's chin dropped in shock at what she was seeing. Choji, Ino and Shikamaru gaped in shock. Guy uttered. Neji couldn't believe his eyes. Shaking him up to think a failure like her was getting up even after the blow he had dealt her. Whimpering, Hinata had blown away their expectations as she lifted herself up with trembling arms and inch by inch, moved to rise to her feet. Her form nearly stumbling back to the ground a few times before she caught herself and regained some semblance of balance. Panting, Hinata held her left side. What do you think you're doing? Neji asked, dumbfounded by her persistence. If you continue to fight, you're going to die. Hinata did not answer him verbally. Still dealing with her labored breathing to even bother wasting her breath answering him at the moment. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to let myself look bad. Not now. She promised herself, cursing the consequences for all she cared. Neji's face scrunched up as his eyes narrowed, helping to morph his face into an infuriated scowl. Why is she doing this? Not in front of the person I admire most, who's finally seeing the real me. Hinata thought, smiling despite the pain as she faced Neji once again. Seeing her back on her feet, Naruto smiled, nodding his head. Proud she had gotten back up. The Hyuga boy was shaking in anger, grinding his teeth as he seethed, reactivating his Byakugan in response. Seeing this, drew the attention of Kurenai, Shino, Guy, Sakura, and Kakashi. I'm far from finished. Hinata informed her cousin, pausing slightly as she talked due to pain and having a hard time breathing. Live up the tough guy act. I can tell you're barely standing. You've been carrying a very heavy burden, having been born to the main branch of the Hyuga clan. And you've cursed and blamed yourself for being weak. But look, people can't change the way they are. That's just how it is. Just accept defeat and you won't have to suffer anymore. Neji pressed. No. Hinata told him, shaking her head. You're wrong, brother. You've got it backwards. She stated, her words startling Neji. You see, I can tell that you're the one you're suffering much more than I. I'm what? Neji questioned. You're the one who's all torn up about the fate of the main and side branches of the Hyuga clan. Hinata told him. At first, Neji did nothing. His face blank as he processed her words, only to break out into an angry growl. His reaction surprising the proctor. Shouting in rage, Neji charged at Hinata. Neji, no. The match is over. 𝐸𝐸 yelled, hoping his words would stop the boy. Oh, man. He thought, knowing the boy was out for blood. With that in mind, he raced to intercept him, trying to stop someone from dying during the preliminary. Neji ignored him racing away until not only the proctor stopped him, but the other Leaf Sensei. Including Kakashi, Kurenai, and his own sensei Guy. 𝐸𝐸 stood in front of him, between him and Hinata, holding out his pointer finger up to Neji's forehead, where his forehead protector was. Kakashi was to Neji's right, holding his arm. Behind him was Guy as he wrapped his left arm around Neji's neck. Kurenai was to his left as she knelt beside him and gripped his left arm. Seeing Neji had been stopped before he could harm Hinata. Below, Guy was scolding his student. Neji, get a hold of yourself. You promised me you wouldn't let this whole head family thing get you riled up. Why are you and the other Jonin butting in? Neji growled. The head family get special treatment, huh? Can't you see that they did you a favor? Naruto. What Neji? You are from the branch family of the Hyuga. If you had killed Hinata who is from the main family, you would have been punished by the main family. Naruto before Neji or the Jonin could say anything, Hinata's heart thumped harshly in her chest, the events from the battle finally catching up with her and giving up, causing Hinata to cry out as she was forced to her knees. "Hinata!" Kurenai yelled as she let out of Neji's arm and rushed to her student's side. "Hinata!" Naruto appeared on the ground floor. Kurenai placed Hinata on her back. "Hey." Luckily, the girl was still conscious. "Naruto." Hinata muttered. "What is it?" Naruto. "I just lied to you." Hinata struggled to spit out. "Do you think I changed?" "Maybe a little." She wondered as her eyes slowly closed. "Hey, you. Loser." Neji called out. Naruto answered, turning around to see Neji, now freed from the Jonin's grip. Now standing beside his sensei. "I have 2 pieces of advice for you. First of all, if you intend to call yourself a shinobi, stop that stupid cheering of yours. It's disgraceful. And second, once a failure, always a failure. You can't change that." Neji informed him, still holding on to his narrow-minded beliefs. "It seems you have forgotten that I am the strongest. You know what the punishment for that is." Naruto, HMPH. Neji huffed, sending the blonde a condescending smirk. "Is Neji an idiot? Why is he testing him?" Shikamaru and Dosu thought. Naruto pointed his hand at Neji. Just as he was about to pull Neji towards him, he saw something was wrong with Hinata. Naruto said, worried. Alarming Kurenai. Without a moment to lose, Kurenai unzipped Hinata's jacket, holding her hand against her chest to check for steady breathing, while her other hand searched for her pulse around Hinata's neck, only to find nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hinata wasn't breathing. No pulse. Knowing the signs, Kurenai knew immediately what was happening. Oh no. She's going into cardiac arrest. Looking away from Hinata, Kurenai glared at Neji. Was he really trying to kill her? "I wouldn't waste your time glaring at me when you really should be taking care of her," Neji said smugly, not even an inch of remorse for his actions and the damage he caused Hinata. "Get a medic. And hurry up," Kurenai shouted. "We're coming." The medic nin shouted as they brought a stretcher and other supplies. "She has no pulse," the medic announced, making Naruto rush closer. "It's very serious. She's got 10 minutes, at best. Let's get her to the emergency room now." "Stand aside," Naruto said as he bent down towards Hinata. "Naruto, what do you plan on doing?" Kurenai. "I gonna heal her." Naruto. "He can use medical jutsu." Naruto flooded Hinata's body with reverse curse energy and healed her. Hinata emitted soft coughs, her breathing beginning to settle, becoming steady as she slowly opened her eyes and softly groaned. The medics and the rest of the room were shocked. Most let out sighs of relief. Naruto turned to the medic. "Don't just stand there gawking. She still needs medical attention. Get her out of here," he growled, the men scrabbling to do their job. Watching her go, Naruto was upset to see her in such a weakened state. "Hinata," Naruto muttered. He felt somewhat responsible for Hinata ending up so hurt. Turning to face Neji. "If you and I fight in the finals, I am gonna destroy you." Naruto. "Neji, you are gonna get what you deserve," Kiba thought. Shino made the same vow as Naruto. He would crush Neji if they faced each other. "You better pray that you don't meet in the finals," Hyuga brat sound Jonin thought. Neji screwed. He just had to insult the honored one. Shikamaru. "The honored one, huh? You already calling him by that title?" Asuma. "Well, he's the strongest after all. He's untouchable, has great speed, strength and destructive jutsu. Who can top that?" Shikamaru. Everyone returned to the upper level. Naruto distanced himself from Neji. "Now then, the last 2 competitors, will you step forward?" Hayate asked once the others had left the ground floor. Skipping using the board to pick who would fight next since there were only 2 people left, they still used it to show the others the names of who was fighting. As the mummy sound ninja stepped forward, he was chuckling. "So it's finally my turn," he thought, giving his opponent a glance before dismissing him. Toji was pumped, Asuma's promise of food encouraging him. "Just keep your eyes on the prize, all you can eat barbecue. My job is to survive the main tournament and battle Sasuke, isn't that right, Lord Orochimaru? I wouldn't want to disappoint you. I have began to see through your design. The reason you ordered us to kill him. The curse you put on him. We were your pawns, weren't we, my lord? Put here merely to test the limits of his abilities. It's not Sasuke's life you want. It's Sasuke himself." Dosu thought, before glancing at the sound Jonin. Toji Akimichi vs Dosu Kanuta. Naruto warned Choji about Dosu's ability. Toji and Dosu went down. "Alright. The 13th and final match will begin," Hayate announced. "You can do it." Shikamaru cheered, looking far more enthused than Ren had ever seen him. "That's so?" Ino shouted, causing Choji to grow irritated, grumbling to himself as he bared his teeth. "Okay. I'm going to finish this match. It's only going to take about 2 seconds and then I'm coming after you, he promised. That's one way to motivate someone. Naruto chuckled. Fine, fatso. Dosu taunted. If you want this match to end quickly, I'll just win it quickly. Grumbling, Choji whipped around to face him now that he had used his trigger word, the promise of food, desire to crush him, and was enough motivation that it lit a fire in his eyes. You're going to go down hard, you mummified weirdo. Choji promised. Naruto told me he uses those holes in his arm to emit a pulsing sound. But if I can't hear it, then he can't hurt me. Choji figured, thinking he had the battle all wrapped up. Ha! Ninja art. Expansion jutsu. Choji called out as his body expanded. Whoa, I heard they grow up fast, but isn't this a bit much? Naruto joked. Now the Hidden style taijutsu. Choji shouted as he pulled his arms, legs, and head into his clothing, creating a prefect ball as chakra slipped out. This will protect my ears from his attacks and crush him like a bug. Choji thought as he went up into the air and spinning fast, charged at Dosu. Human boulder. Chubby's rule. Choji shouted, while Dosu didn't even attempt to move out of the way. Yeah, alright. Choji, you can do it. Squash him. Cheered. That guy doesn't even need to touch Choji to hit him with a powerful sonic attack. But they only work when Choji's ears are showing. With his head covered, it's like Choji's wearing earplugs. Naruto figured as he watched Dosu effortlessly jumped out of the way while Choji was slow to turn. Those sonic attacks are useless against that big meatball, especially when it's rolling. Standing in front of one of the wall, Dosu easily escaped the line for fire as Choji rammed straight into it, creating a crater as he tried to pull himself out. Jumping into the air, Dosu couldn't help but chuckle. He barely has any control over where he's going. Now to end this, Dosu said as he punched Choji with a grunt. Only to slide down to the ground, the attack ineffective. Being it, Choji shouted at his opponent. It's no use. My ears are covered. You're so wrong. Dosu told him, taking his weapon and merely flicking it, the metal ringing like a bell as the sound waves moved through Choji, causing him to yell and then scream as he seemed to deflate. The poor boy groaning, but didn't seem majorly injured. See, the human body is 70% water, and water can transmit sound waves. In other words, when it comes to my attacks, your whole body is basically one big ear. Dosu explained, hiding his weapon under his sleeves again. The winner is Dosu Kanuta. Ḥate announced, while Dosu left. Hey, are you alright? A medic asked. Meat, I want to eat some meat. Choji told them. PFFT. He'll be fine, Naruto. That's our Choji, always thinking with his stomach. Shikamaru said. Ino agreed, feeling sorry for the poor boy getting defeated so quickly. Even though he lost, the least we can do is take him out for some barbecue beef. Asuma told them. Meanwhile, Ḥate coughed a bit before sighing in relief. It's finally over. At long last, we can begin the final rounds. The Hokage thought with a smile. And with that match, the third exam preliminaries are now finished. Ḥate announced. Ḥate called all the winners to the arena. Standing on the former battlefield, the Genin were all lined up. Dosu was on the far left end with Naruto standing beside him. After them was Temari, Kankuro, and Gar. Followed by the final Leaf Genin Shikamaru, Neji and Shino on the right end. I commend all those who have advanced to the finals for the third level of the Chunin exams. Well, there's one person missing, but still, congratulations. Ḥate told them. Here, including the absent Sasuke, we have 5 ninja from the Leaf Village, 3 from the Sand Village, and 1 from the Sound Village. The Hokage thought. Pulling his hat down slightly, the Hokage spoke up. And now I will begin the explanation of the final rounds. In the final rounds, each of you will put your battle skills on display. You'll demonstrate the power and control that you've achieved in your respective disciplines. Accordingly, the final battles will commence 1 month from now. The Hokage informed them. Wait, we're not going to do it right here and now. Naruto asked as he was eager to give a certain someone a ass kicking. Are you insane? Shikamaru yelled at him. How do you expect us to fight? Some of us are pretty beaten up here. We need time to rest. Everyone isn't as strong as you. There is always a month-long wait before the final third exam. Ḥate added. That is correct. The Hokage nodded in agreement. This is to provide a suitable period of preparation. What do you mean by that? Neji asked. Simply this: in addition to announcing the conclusion of the preliminary matches to each country's leaders, we must also have some time to prepare and distribute the summons for the final selection. Not to mention that you examinees are going to need time to prepare for something that is this important. The Hokage explained. This old man sure likes to beat around the bush. Kankuro thought. Look, I don't really get what you're trying to say. What's the point of this? I mean that to know your adversaries and prepare yourselves, you need time. Even though up to this point, all the battles have been real battles as, I'm sure you can all attest they were conducted on the premise that you were fighting an unknown enemy. But that's no longer the case now that you've battled each other. The Hokage explained. Yeah, seriously. I would never have dreamed this guy would become so strong. Shikamaru thought as he glanced at Naruto. So in order to make the finals fair and just, we're giving you this month. Each of you must embrace the opportunity to practice hard and learn some new tricks. Because by now, everyone here knows your techniques. So using your old tired tricks is a sure way to lose in the finals. And remember to get some rest as well. The Hokage instructed. Looking over at all the others. This is going to be easy, Naruto thought. Now, with all that behind us, I'd like to begin winding things up. But before we can bring this to an end, first, there is one more important matter to take care of for the final rounds. The Hokage told them. In a calm, orderly fashion, all of you are going to take one slip of paper from the box that Anko is holding. The Hokage instructed. Everyone just stay where you are. I'll come to you. Just take one. Anko told them. Starting with Dosu, the mummy had to pull back his sleeves to reach in and grab a paper. When Naruto took his, he unfolded it to see a number 1 printed on the paper. Number 1. Naruto smiled. Going down the line, when everyone had taken a paper, Hibiki spoke up. Good. Now everyone has one. Going from left to right, tell me the number that's written on your slip of paper. I've got 8. Dosu said. Number 1, of course. Naruto spoke. 7. Called Temari. 5. Followed Kankuro. 3. Spoke Gaara. 9. Shikamaru spoke. Neji called out. 6. Shino finished. And that means Sasuke will be number 4. Hibiki noted as he wrote it down on his noteboard. Right. Very good. Now I'm going to tell you about how the final selection tournament is going to work. The Hokage told them. Most of the genin were surprised. Is that what the numbers are for? Drawing lots? Shikamaru asked, getting irritated. Hibiki, you may reveal which ninja have been paired up. The Hokage ordered. Yes sir. Hibiki answered as flipped over the board showing everyone the matchups. Naruto smirked as he read it. The first match was Naruto vs Neji, the second Gaara vs Sasuke, the third was Kankuro vs Shino, fourth was Temari vs Dosu. Shikamaru would fight the winner of round 4. Shino said nothing when he saw who he was facing. I'll be waiting forever. Dosu thought irritated. Is that all the final rounds are? A tournament? Temari thought. Just great. This is such a drag. Shikamaru thought. Man, I'm glad I'm not in the same hat to draw as Gaara. Kankuro thought happy. Sasuke Uchiha. Gaara contemplated, growing curious about his opponent. Perfect. Neji thought, already imaging how easy it would be for him to beat Naruto. Still thinking Naruto was fated to be a loser. I've got Neji Hyuga. Right off the bat. This couldn't be any better. Naruto thought, more than pleased. Sasuke has to go up against him. Thanks to 𝐫𝐞𝐽 forfeiting we don't know his abilities. Sakura fretted. I hope you guys liked the story. If you did, click on any of the videos which are popping on the screen right now. I promise you'll love them too. If you like my videos you can like and subscribe too. I'll see you on another amazing What If video guys. Love you all, peace.